The oil business was never the real danger. The real danger was what happened after the money, the power, and the lies started destroying the people behind it. And after that insane teaser for Landman Season 3, it's becoming very clear that nobody is safe anymore. Not Tommy, not Cammy, not Cooper. Because this season doesn't look like it's about building an empire, it looks like it's about surviving the collapse of one. The teaser already hints that the war between old allies is finally exploding into something much darker, and honestly, some of these characters may never come back from what's coming next. Tommy spent 2 seasons learning how to control chaos, but Season 3 might finally show us the moment where chaos controls him instead. And the craziest part is that the biggest threat may not even come from outside enemies anymore. It could come from the secrets that have been buried inside MTech from the very beginning. So let's break everything down, because this teaser just revealed way more than people realize. The first thing that immediately stands out about the Landman Season 3 teaser is how different the tone feels compared to previous seasons. There's still tension, obviously. This show practically lives on tension. But this time, it feels heavier, more personal. Almost like every character already knows that disaster is coming and they're just trying to delay it for as long as possible. And honestly, that makes complete sense after the way Season 2 ended. By the finale, every relationship had already started falling apart. Trust was basically dead. Tommy walked away from MTech. Cammy isolated herself completely. Cooper got dragged into a situation that could easily spiral out of control. And now Season 3 looks like the moment where all those consequences finally come crashing down together. What really caught my attention in the teaser was Tommy's energy. He doesn't feel like the same man anymore. In previous seasons, Tommy always looked like somebody who could survive anything because he understood the game better than everyone else. Even when situations became dangerous, he still had this calm confidence that made it seem like he was always 5 steps ahead. But in this teaser, that confidence feels different. It feels darker. There's this constant pressure around him now, like he knows the walls are slowly closing in but refuses to show fear to anyone around him. And honestly, that might be exactly what makes him even more dangerous this season, because Tommy isn't just trying to survive anymore. He's trying to protect everything he built after leaving MTech behind. CTT isn't some side project anymore. It's his entire future now. His reputation, his legacy. And once somebody reaches that point, they start making completely different decisions. The teaser keeps hinting that Tommy is about to enter a much more ruthless phase, especially after Galino's warning at the end of Season 2. That partnership always felt unstable. Even when Tommy managed to turn the situation into an opportunity, you could still tell there was something threatening underneath the surface. People like Galino never invest without expecting complete loyalty in return. And Tommy has never been the type of man who likes being controlled. That's why I think Season 3 is setting up a massive conflict between those two. Right now, they may technically be working together, but the teaser already suggests that trust between them is starting to crack. Tommy wants independence. Galino wants influence. And eventually, those goals are going to collide. The scary part is that Galino doesn't seem like the kind of person who accepts betrayal quietly. If Tommy steps out of line or threatens his interests, things could become violent very fast. And honestly, Tommy probably knows that already. That's why he seems so much more tense in this teaser. He's finally dealing with enemies that money and negotiation alone may not be enough to stop. But at the same time, Tommy's biggest weakness has always been his family. That's where the teaser becomes really interesting, because Cooper's situation still hasn't disappeared. If anything, it looks worse now. The fallout from Ariana's death is still hanging over everything like a storm waiting to explode. Even if Cooper didn't fully mean for things to happen the way they did, somebody still lost their life. And in a world like Landman, powerful people don't simply move on from something like that. Revenge matters. Reputation matters. And once families with money and influence start demanding answers, situations become dangerous very quickly. The teaser heavily implies that Cooper is about to become a direct target this season, which honestly could push Tommy into his darkest storyline yet, because there's a huge difference between Tommy protecting business interests and Tommy protecting his son. When family gets involved, Tommy stops thinking rationally. We've already seen hints of that side of him before, but season 3 might finally unleash it completely. And honestly, that could change everything. A desperate Tommy is probably the most dangerous version of this character imaginable because he's willing to cross lines that other people wouldn't even consider. At the same time, Cooper himself looks completely broken in this teaser. And honestly, that might end up becoming one of the most emotional parts of the season. Up until now, Cooper always felt like somebody stuck between two worlds. Part of him wanted the family business and the power that came with it, but another part of him still wanted a normal life. After everything that happened in season 2, though, that normal life may already be gone forever. The guilt alone could destroy him. But the real problem is that guilt makes people vulnerable. It makes them emotional, reckless, easy to manipulate. And if enemies realize Cooper is mentally falling apart, they could absolutely use that against Tommy. Meanwhile, Cammy's storyline looks even more tragic now than it did before. Honestly, the teaser makes her seem almost unrecognizable compared to the woman we met earlier in the series. Ever since Monty died, she's been slowly consumed by grief and obsession. But season 3 looks like the point where that obsession finally takes total control of her life. She's isolated now. Tommy is gone. Nate walked away. Most of the people she trusted are either abandoning her or turning against her. But instead of stepping back, she keeps digging deeper into MTex's secrets like she's trying to prove something to herself. And honestly, I think that's exactly what makes her storyline so dangerous this season. Cammy doesn't seem capable of stopping anymore. She's become obsessed with uncovering the truth behind the company, behind Monty, and behind all the hidden deals that were buried for years. But the teaser strongly suggests that the deeper she investigates, the more horrifying the truth becomes. There are quick hints that MTex may have been involved in things far bigger and darker than anyone realized before. Illegal operations, secret partnerships, financial corruption, maybe even deaths that were covered up years ago. And if Cammy really uncovers evidence connected to those secrets, she could accidentally place herself directly in the crosshairs of people far more dangerous than she understands. That's why this teaser feels so intense already. Every storyline is moving toward destruction at the same time. Tommy is trying to hold together an empire while protecting his family from enemies closing in around them. Cooper is mentally collapsing under guilt and pressure. Cammy is chasing secrets that may completely destroy her. And somewhere in the middle of all this chaos, powerful people are quietly preparing for war. The scariest part is that Landman has never been a show where everyone survives the consequences of their decisions. And season 3 already feels like the season where some characters may finally pay the ultimate price. One thing that makes the Landman Season 3 teaser feel so different from previous seasons is the amount of fear hiding underneath every conversation. Nobody seems comfortable anymore. Nobody feels safe. Even the characters pretending they still have control look exhausted now. And honestly, that might be the biggest sign that Season 3 is about to become the darkest chapter of the entire series. Because when powerful people start operating from fear instead of confidence, mistakes happen. Dangerous mistakes. And I think Tommy may be closer to breaking than he wants anyone to realize. For most of this show, Tommy has been the person who keeps moving no matter how chaotic things become. That's what made him so compelling in earlier seasons. Even when everything around him collapsed, he always stayed focused enough to survive. But the teaser keeps hinting that the pressure is finally starting to reach him emotionally. You can feel it in the way he carries himself now. He looks tired. Not physically tired, but mentally exhausted. Like somebody who has spent too many years cleaning up disasters for everyone else and is finally running out of patience. And honestly, that's terrifying. Because Tommy without emotional control is a completely different kind of threat. Normally, he calculates every move carefully. He negotiates. He manipulates situations quietly. He avoids chaos unless he absolutely has no other choice. But Season 3 seems ready to push him into situations where careful planning may not work anymore. If enemies keep targeting his family, his company, and his future at the same time, eventually he's going to stop thinking strategically and start reacting emotionally instead. The teaser already hints at this transformation multiple times. There's this growing sense that Tommy is becoming more aggressive than we've ever seen before. Less willing to compromise, less willing to forgive betrayal. And honestly, after everything he's been through, that evolution makes complete sense. Every season of Landman has slowly stripped pieces away from him. Trust, stability, relationships, peace. At some point, people stop trying to save themselves emotionally and start focusing only on survival. I think that's exactly where Tommy is heading now. What's even more interesting is how Season 3 appears to be blurring the line between hero and villain for almost every major character. Earlier seasons still had moments where certain people felt morally stronger than others. But now, everybody seems compromised in some way. Tommy is becoming more ruthless, Cammy is becoming obsessed, Cooper is emotionally unstable, and the people surrounding them all seem to have hidden motives of their own. It creates this atmosphere where nobody fully trusts anybody anymore, which honestly makes the entire teaser feel incredibly tense. And then there's Nate. Honestly, I think Nate could end up becoming one of the most important characters this season, even though the teaser barely focuses on him directly. Because unlike most people around Tommy and Cammy, Nate walked away before everything completely exploded. He saw the warning signs earlier than almost anyone else. He understood that MTEX was becoming toxic, and instead of letting himself drown inside that chaos, he stepped back. But the teaser strongly suggests he may get pulled back into the conflict anyway. And honestly, that would make sense because characters like Nate usually become important once situations spiral out of control. He's one of the few people who still understands both Tommy and Cammy personally. He knows how dangerous Tommy can become when family is threatened, and he also understands how emotionally unstable Cammy has become after Monty's death. That puts him in a very dangerous position because eventually both sides may start viewing him as somebody they can use. The scary part is that Nate may end up trapped between loyalty and survival. If Tommy starts crossing darker lines, Nate may feel obligated to stop him. But if Cammy uncovers secrets powerful enough to threaten major people inside the industry, helping her could also place him directly in danger. That's why I think Season 3 may quietly turn Nate into the emotional center of the story. He's one of the only characters left who still seems connected to reality, while everyone else spirals deeper into obsession, anger, or fear. At the same time, the teaser also makes it obvious that the oil industry itself is becoming even more dangerous this season. And honestly, that's something the show has always done brilliantly. Landman never treats business like simple background drama. The industry itself feels alive, corrupt, violent, ruthless. Every deal comes with consequences because money at this level always attracts dangerous people. But Season 3 looks like it's expanding that danger far beyond corporate competition. There are several moments in the teaser that strongly imply outside criminal organizations may now be directly involved in the conflict surrounding MTEX and CTT, and honestly, that changes the stakes completely. Business wars are one thing, but once criminal networks, corruption, and hidden operations start connecting together, survival becomes much harder. Suddenly, people aren't just fighting over contracts or money anymore, they're fighting to stay alive. That's why the teaser feels so intense even during quieter moments. There's this constant sense that violence could erupt at any second. Nobody feels protected anymore. Even powerful characters look nervous. And honestly, I think Season 3 is setting up multiple betrayals that are going to shock people. One betrayal I'm especially worried about involves somebody close to Tommy's operation. The teaser repeatedly focuses on trust breaking down inside his circle. And honestly, that usually means somebody is eventually going to turn against him. Maybe out of fear, maybe for money, maybe because they think Tommy is becoming too dangerous to follow anymore. But whatever the reason is, I don't think CTT survives this season without internal damage. And if betrayal does happen inside Tommy's company, it could completely change him forever. Because Tommy already struggles with trusting people emotionally. Every season has shown how difficult it is for him to truly rely on others. But betrayal inside CTT would feel personal in a completely different way because this company represents more than business to him. It represents freedom, independence, a future he built himself after walking away from MTEX. If somebody destroys part of that dream from the inside, Tommy may never emotionally recover from it. Meanwhile, Cooper's storyline keeps looking more tragic the deeper this teaser goes. Honestly, I think Season 3 may finally answer whether Cooper is actually capable of surviving this world long term. Because right now, He looks emotionally crushed by everything surrounding him. And the worst part is that people around him don't seem to fully understand how unstable he's becoming. That's what makes his storyline so dangerous. Emotionally broken characters usually don't collapse all at once. They slowly lose control piece by piece until eventually something pushes them too far. And honestly, the teaser keeps foreshadowing that exact kind of explosion. Cooper is carrying guilt, fear, public pressure, and family expectations all at the same time. On top of that, he's now trapped inside conflicts much larger than he ever wanted to be part of. And if enemies realize Cooper is vulnerable, they will absolutely use him to get closer to Tommy. That possibility alone could push the entire season into chaos, because Tommy can handle attacks against himself. He's survived those kinds of threats his entire life. But attacks against his son? That's different. That creates emotional decisions instead of calculated ones. And emotional decisions in the world of Landman usually lead to disaster. At the same time, Cammy's investigation into M-Techs continues looking more dangerous every second. Honestly, I don't think she fully understands what she's uncovering yet. The teaser makes it seem like she initially believes she's just exposing corruption connected to Monty and the company, but the deeper she digs, the more it feels like she's uncovering something connected to much larger systems of power. And that's where things could become deadly. Because once powerful people start feeling threatened by exposure, they stop caring about morality. They start protecting themselves at all costs. The teaser already hints that Cammy is being watched more closely now. Certain conversations suddenly stop when she enters rooms. People avoid answering direct questions. Information disappears before she can access it. And honestly, those details make it feel like somebody already knows she's getting too close to the truth. The problem is that Cammy probably won't stop even if she realizes she's in danger. That obsession has completely consumed her now. At this point, uncovering the truth feels more important to her than protecting herself emotionally or physically. And honestly, that mindset usually leads characters toward tragedy in shows like this. Because Landman has never been a story where obsession ends peacefully. Every time somebody becomes consumed by power, revenge, or secrets, the consequences eventually destroy them from the inside out. What makes the Landman Season 3 teaser feel almost terrifying at certain moments is the way it keeps building this idea that every character is heading toward a point of no return. Not just emotionally, but morally too. And honestly, that might end up becoming the biggest theme of the entire season. Because up until now, most of these characters still believed they could control the damage around them. Tommy thought he could outsmart the system. Cammy thought she could protect Monty's legacy. Cooper thought he could somehow survive the consequences of his mistakes without losing himself completely. But Season 3 looks like the moment where reality finally destroys those illusions. And the most dangerous part is that everybody seems completely alone now. That's something the teaser keeps emphasizing over and over again. Even when characters are surrounded by people, emotionally they feel isolated. Tommy can't fully trust his own circle anymore. Cammy pushed away almost everyone who cared about her. Cooper looks disconnected from both his family and himself. And honestly, isolation changes people in brutal ways. Once somebody feels like they have nobody left to rely on, they start making choices based entirely on fear and survival. That's why the emotional atmosphere of this teaser feels so heavy. There's barely any hope left in it. Even moments that should feel victorious somehow still feel tense, like every success is only temporary before something worse arrives. And honestly, that's probably intentional because Landman Season 3 doesn't look like a story about winning anymore. It looks like a story about what people become when pressure finally breaks them. One character I think people are seriously underestimating right now is Galeno. Because while everybody else is emotionally reacting to chaos, Galeno seems calm the entire time. And honestly, characters who stay calm during chaos are usually the ones controlling more than people realize. The teaser barely needs to show him directly because his influence already feels present in almost every storyline. Tommy's company expansion, dangerous partnerships, growing fear inside the industry, hidden threats surrounding Cooper. Somehow, all of it feels connected back to people operating in the shadows, and Galeno seems perfectly positioned to benefit from that instability. What makes him so dangerous is that he doesn't appear emotionally attached to anything.